to the Restore Nature Now March. I'm Megan McCubbin and I'm so pleased to be bringing you this live stream. The atmosphere here in London today is like nothing else. Of course, we've all gathered on the streets, a coalition of over 300 NGOs and organisations standing side by side together to increase the volume for nature, to keep shouting louder about it. Of course, as you know, 1 in 6 species in the UK are threatened with extinction, and personally, well, I'm quite scared by that, but that is not the atmosphere here today. The atmosphere here today is positivity, it's connection, it's fun, there's music, there's entertainment, and for me it's like a festival with purpose. That's how I can describe events like this. So before we get into like the big stage as the march begins to arrive here in Parliament Square, I'm going to be joined by a few special guests to tell me a little bit about how the day's going, and the music's happening, so I have to be a bit loud. My first guest is Anishwa Kanchala. Hi Anishwa!
Hi!
How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm very good. Now, the first thing that I see with you is you've got this excellent banner here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I made this one with my dad's help, and it's about all the animals that live in the UK. Like, we have a dipper, some dolphins, puffins, and a lion's mane jellyfish, curlews, falcons, and many of the creatures that might become extinct in the future. But the one that I'm most worried about is none other than our amazing orcas. Because there's only 2 left in the world, and 2 left in the UK, and I can name them. So, Jonco and Aquarius, those are the last 2 remaining orcas in the British Isles, which is very alarming. But if it is, some of the females might come and help bounce back the population. And don't worry, it's nothing because of human-made causes that they're going extinct here. It's all because of the females have got too old and have sadly gone away. But luckily, these 2 might hold the species in the UK forever and evermore.
Yeah, they're facing a few bioaccumulation threats as well, aren't they? But tell me a little bit about why you think Restore Nature Now is important. Why do you love wildlife so much?
I love wildlife because I know that without wildlife, no animal or plant or human would be able to live on Earth. And that's why our entire ecosystem, from the tiny creatures, just like red squirrels, are important, even for the giant creatures, like the blue whales, that are on totally different places on Earth. So I believe every different part of our world is important. And Restore Nature is a great way of showing that we can protect our world, and we are all marching to try and protect nature and spread awareness with these amazing posters that we all have created to try and help our world.
So if the people watching could do one thing for wildlife, what would you say?
I would say it's very simple things, like maybe adding a little wild space to your garden, which I have. Let it grow wild, don't mow the lawn, and make it just a wild space where lots of animals can live. And another quick thing is get bird nests, nest boxes, and many more nesting materials that help birds, and a lot of different things like planting trees and bug hotels, which would help many animals.
Right, thank you so much, Anishwa. It's so great to see you again. And enjoy the rest of the march, okay? Have a great time. I'll see you soon. Okay, bye. I love Anishwa and his passion, his excitement for everything for wildlife. It's absolutely brilliant to see. So next up, we've got Alex and Tammy, who are part of the Woodland Youth Council. Hello.
Hello.
How are you both?
I'm very good, thank you. Tammy Ydwi, Dwi'n dod o Gymru. So my name's Tammy and I'm from Wales, and I'm here with the Woodland Trust because I care about our future generations.
Have you been to an event like this before?
No, I've never been to a march before. This is the first legal march that I've actually been able to go to because I've always been afraid of getting arrested. But it's so good that we have the Woodland Trust and all these major national organisations working together so we can come with confidence. And it's such an important thing to be a part of, so I'm so happy to be here.
Of course, you both are part of the Youth Council. Youth voices are incredibly important in this conversation. How have you found that so far?
Absolutely amazing. And one of the special things about both me and Xander here is that we're from a different part of the sector. So we're from, like myself, I'm from the mental health sector. My career is in mental health, but I really feel passionate about getting into the environmental sector. And I found such a welcoming space here with the Woodland Trust that I'm able to use my skills that I got from my sector and apply them to a conservation setting. And the same with Xander.
So yeah, I'm from law, and that's one of the cool things about the youth council setting is you don't have to be an expert in nature to have skills here. They incorporated us in without saying how many trees do you know. I'll be honest, I didn't know that many when I joined. I'm learning them now. I know about the London plane tree here, for example, but there's lots of experts here to help you. But it's so nice to be able to apply our different skills and backgrounds, and that is so needed to this environmental sector, even if we don't know too much about the nature ourselves. But we're learning.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You learn as you go along, and especially kind of when you're kind of coming into the debate from different angles, you have a diversity of ideas because you have a diversity of backgrounds and histories.
Exactly, yeah. So one of the things that I also want to talk about is the shared solutions that we can get from working like this in a multidisciplinary way. So a lot of our solutions for climate crisis also interlink with so many solutions that, like the mental health crisis, the poverty crisis, cost of living crisis. So there's so many things that you can talk about with people you know and get them connected and invested in our future. Because, for example, with the mental health crisis, someone cares about mental health, they want to help UK mental health to be better, then you can talk about the benefits of having natural spaces easily accessible and how calming that is, and how having a community that cares together, that all work together, decreases isolation. We're not stuck in concrete jungles anymore, we're able to get out and about with people, and that's so powerful for mental health. And there's so many different things, and I've got this, I just want to do a little call out because this book goes into how discrimination interlinks with the climate crisis and a lot more than that. I am not giving it justice. It's a great book, so yeah, give it a try, and I'm going to pass to you for your point.
Oh, okay.
Well, Michaela's amazing. I think that's an
Oh,
excellent
you
book.
know her?
I know Michaela, she's
Yay!
great.
Oh, sorry.
No, she's very good. I guess the thing is, what would you say, obviously coming from Youth Council, for other young people that might be watching that may want to get involved?
I think they just should, because the sector is so inclusive. I was really afraid when I joined the sector because of my lack of knowledge and skills. I didn't do a geography degree. I didn't know that much. I didn't grow up with earthworms and liking that sort of thing. But the sector's so inclusive, so to change now, get involved now, even if you're not engaged now, you still can be. It's not too late. You have skills, they're useful. Let's use them.
Yeah.
Well, now's the best time to join, if not in the past.
And is this, the event today, the march, has it kind of inspired you to come out to more?
Oh my God, so much. I've wanted to for so long, and everything, life gets busy. Oh, I missed that one, I can't do that day, all this stuff. And then when I heard about how many people are coming to this, how many people care, the power of collective action, I was like, right, I'm clearing my calendar for this. I will be here. I'm determined. I'm so glad to be here.
And yeah, once we're done here, I'm just going to run back because I want to get back involved. We're part of the walking woodland that we've got here. So I think there's over 1,000 umbrellas with people being involved in being a tree. And I'm so excited to be part of that because it shows optimistic ideas for the future. Yeah. We can see London, an area which is actually quite green, but in some of the urban areas full of trees. And that just inspires me to say, let's build this. Let's build a future full of these optimistic ideas like tree equity, getting trees into urban spaces. So yeah, I'm really excited to get back involved and I'm inspired to be here.
Great, well, I'll let you guys go back and join in the festivities. Have a great time. Thank you, lovely to meet you both. See you later. Oh, so brilliant. It's great to get so many different voices coming together for that shared commonality. I think sometimes we forget about that. We forget that actually our neighbour is probably working towards the same thing that we are. So actually just knocking on and just speaking to them, you have that shared sense of passion, which is brilliant. So right, our next guest is up here. Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
What's your name?
I'm good. I'm Molly.
Hi, Molly. Hi. So tell me a little bit about your experience here today.
It's been incredible. Just seeing so many people come together from so many different organisations. To just come and march for nature. It's amazing.
So you're an ambassador for WWT, is that right?
Yes, I am, yeah.
It's a brilliant organisation and obviously they've got a big presence here today as well, which is really nice. What do you think the importance is of collaboration with our big NGOs?
I think we're stronger together, we really are stronger together. We can't achieve it all on our own. And when you all come together, you just realise that we work across so many different sectors. Sometimes it's really easy to just be really blinkered on where you are. But yeah, when you see everybody else, you just realise the difference you can make, really.
And how have you found it then, being an ambassador with them and coming to events like this?
Yeah, it's so amazing, and I can speak about wetlands all day.
Please do.
So yeah, just being able to talk to everybody about wetlands, and wetlands are the underdogs, and yeah, just being able to raise awareness about what they are and how great they are for the challenges we face, and yeah, just how they benefit us as well. Yeah, it's really rewarding. Love it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Molly. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye. Now we're going to have a quick break from chatting to lots of wonderful people and we're going to go to a beautiful film filmed with the remarkable Dame Judi Dench and some other incredible voices.
Events. We've got flash flooding, and what's happening around the world is terrible enough, but what's happening here on our own shores, it's abundantly clear that we're living in the eye of a storm. We've got scorching temperatures, we've got extreme weather events, we've got flash flooding. And what's happening around the world is terrible enough, but what's happening here on our own shores in the UK is utterly heartbreaking.
Our landscapes are being decimated, our rivers polluted, our woodlands felled, our peat bogs drained.
We have lost 80% of all our butterflies. We've lost 50% of our farmland birds.
Intensive, unsustainable animal agriculture is choking our land.
But there is an alternative.
If the political will existed, we could restore nature at landscape scale.
We can reforest, we can rewild, we can change the way that we farm so it's sustainable, the way that we fish so it's sustainable. We can clean up our seas and our waterways.
We could make polluters pay and rapidly move towards renewables and a cleaner future.
If we do not take action, we'll lose this green and pleasant land forever.
So take to the streets on June the 22nd for the largest ever mobilisation for nature. It's peaceful, family friendly, it's backed by over 300 organisations including the National Trust, the World Wildlife Fund, Friends of the Earth and Extinction Rebellion.
Nature doesn't have a voice, but we do. Nature can't act, but we must.
So I've just heard from the march and they're about 10-15 minutes away from reaching us here at Parliament Square. Really exciting. I cannot wait for them to join us in their full force with all their creativity, their banners, their hats, their animal costumes. It's honestly so much fun. And I started the day at the front of the march with people like Emma Thompson, Amir Khan. We'll be hearing from all of those a little bit later on in the day. But the atmosphere is just so lively and wonderful and harmonious. I'm just having the best time. But I'm going to keep chatting with a lot of people who have come to join me now, including some people from the People's Plan for Nature. Hello.
Hi.
What are your names?
Rebecca.
Hello.
I'm Charlie.
So tell me a little bit about People's Plan for Nature, what that's all about.
So it's made up by a Citizens' Assembly. We spent 4 weekends in Birmingham discussing how nature was in crisis, what we needed to do to fix it. We deliberated and then created the plan.
Okay. What was the plan? It must be a big one.
So we came up with 26 calls to action from anyone from individuals, charities, NGOs, businesses, the government in general, and just different calls to action specific to each people, specific to each the people. I'm sorry. And our goal is to have each of these individuals, charities, businesses come back, look at our plan, look at what we need them to do. Some of our focuses are we want people to protect green spaces. We want legislation to be about protecting nature, to be focused on nature first when it comes to what is. Sorry, I'm so sorry. What needs to be protected the most, essentially.
Yeah, it's pretty much like a roadmap, so anyone could pick it up and say, what can I do? And it's in there.
Yeah, I mean, I've read it and I think it's brilliant. It's excellent. It's a great manifesto, a guide, isn't it, to achieving net zero, but also talking about biodiversity, all of that kind of stuff is really exciting. What was the reaction when it first came out?
It was a little bit anticlimactic if I'm honest at first. It was one of those things that you didn't realise how big it was until after the fact. And ever since then, it's just been so empowering, just to speaking about it and having something that is something. When we took it to House of Lords last year, and it's, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
How important is it to come to events like this and be represented alongside all the other brilliant charities and organisations?
It's really, really important. We need as much momentum behind the plan as we can. We want people to be aware of it. We want people to know about it. We want people to be able to go to their businesses, to their government, to anyone they can and say, look, this is something that people have created. This is something citizens of the UK have come together and created and come up with. And if we follow this, we can make a difference. So we just want people to just tell literally every single person you know about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? It's communication. It's having that chat to people that you might not chat to necessarily about nature and climate and whatever you're passionate about. But do you think attitudes are changing?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. And I think as well as it's everyone, so I've always been interested in nature, but like my opinions on how other people perceive nature. It's like you can look at someone and think, oh, you don't care, but then when you listen, it's just they have a different like experience with nature. But the plan is just, it's hope as well, because it's from everyone, from every walk of life. It's truly representative of the UK. So yeah, it's what everyone wants.
No, but it's so important, isn't it? And do you feel hopeful being at events like this?
Really, really hopeful. It's amazing to see people actually knowing what we're talking about when we mention the plan. Hearing people, oh wait, I remember hearing about this, I know about this, and coming to a big event like this with so many businesses, so many charities, so many different people participating, it's just really amazing, because it means that the momentum is just going to keep on gathering. So it's really important, and it's really great to see.
If you were hoping that politicians, and we hope obviously that politicians are here on the ground with us today, but also listening to everything that's going on, what is the one message you'd like to give to the next government?
That this plan has been made up with nature at the heart of it. It's not about scoring points politically, it's not about money, it's with nature and how we fix it. So take politics out of it. Nature is our foundation, it doesn't need political left, right, something. You okay?
No, but I swallowed a fly, so I'm trying not to cough, which is why I'm kind of tearing up, because I'm trying not to cough. I'm trying to be professional. But carry on. Sorry.
Just put everything aside, and it doesn't matter where you sit in the house if we have no nature. It's not going to matter at the end of the day, so we need to fix it.
One of my favourite quotes from someone was, "Why do you care so much? Why do you bother?" And I was like, well, it's our home. It's literally our home.
No, honestly, it doesn't make any sense to me when people tell me that they don't care about the environment, they don't care about sustainability, they don't care about protecting nature, because why not? You live here. This is your home, this is your life, this is your world, and it's slowly being destroyed, and you just don't have an opinion on that? Get out here, try and help make a change, please join us,
It does affect everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you both for joining today. I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of it. March should be here any minute, in their full thousands, I hope. See you later. Nice to see you. I was really trying not to show them. Bless them. They're so passionate about it, and the People Plan for Nature is great. You can find all details to that online if you look up People's Plan for Nature, and I recommend that you do. All these organisations coming together to work so very hard, and go and support them and do everything you can to ignite together. Right, well, next up we've got Indy Green and Katie Monk. What are you giggling at? I see you over there giggling.
James being naughty.
Behind the camera.
I can't tell you.
Very bad. How are you both? Nice to see you here, because you are on the midst of a big adventure. So you made your way to London.
We are currently walking from Land's End to John O'Groats. We started on the 10th of May, finishing on the 24th of August, 107 days. We are on day 44.
Currently in Yorkshire,
but we got the train down here yesterday. Very happy to be here.
Well, we're very grateful that you took a day out of your mammoth walk to come today. Why was it so important for you to be here?
It's such a big gathering of people, and it's such a large community as well. We just wanted to come and support and just show our voice and just, be in the same atmosphere that everyone else is and just show our support for nature.
And how have you found it so far?
A lot more people than we're used to. We've been walking for days in the Peak District recently, seeing about 5 to 10 people a day, and all of a sudden it looks pretty quiet behind us now. But there's a big march coming towards us, and there's a lot of people, so it's a bit but it's all good people, and they're all here for a great thing, so it's all good. Yeah.
And obviously you're both part of the RSPB Youth Council as well, so you're kind of really representing multiple hats today, which is exciting.
Yeah, we need the hats today because it's absolutely boiling.
Yeah.
But we're with the RSPB Youth Council, who are somewhere behind us, and it's so exciting that all these organisations are coming out and just collaborating with each other and just showing that unity together, because that's how we make change, really. So yeah.
I think that's one of the most important things, isn't it? Is getting people to talk, and often they're working on similar things.
Yeah.
So I think today is the start of potentially a really exciting thing with 300 plus. I mean, I wasn't expecting 300 plus, and I'm over the moon.
Yeah, definitely, it's incredible. And like you said, we're here. We're wearing loads of different hats. We're also, the reason for the walk is raising money for a charity called the Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust, who I don't think are here today, but they're supporting in spirit. And so anything you give to that would be massively appreciated. But it's so cool, like you say, to see so many people. No, it's not just Chris here anymore. It's everybody else. It's amazing. So it's so exciting to have so much support from so many people. It's really cool.
Yeah, but it's been amazing watching you do your mammoth adventure. I mean, you can look up the hashtag Marine Miles, can't you, to kind of follow on where you are. I've been following every day. I'm like, well, how far have you got? Where are you okay? How are your feet? Because, I mean, ouch. But an amazing thing. And you guys are so clearly dedicated about nature. So what is it that really drives you to do what you do?
Just craziness, I think, wasn't it? It was just sheer lunacy, but it was really cool to obviously, Katie, it was your idea and you planned the entire thing. I'm just like, okay, I've got this idea. We were very bored at university, and then we're like, right, we're going to do this. And I just think it's so nice to be able to do something good for nature that you can actually enjoy at the same time as well. Like you're not, you're stuck in an office. There's so many different things you can do, but what we're doing is outdoors every day. Can't really complain, really. We've got a couple of blisters, but considering outdoors for 107 days and going to cool places like this for a great charity, we're pretty happy.
So what do you hope the outcome of this march will be for the people listening, perhaps the next government? What are you hoping that they're going to see from the event today and take from it?
Well, they'll definitely take on board that so many people want to restore nature now. We just need to work together, we need to collaborate, we need to have unity between everyone. And I think because this volume of people has turned out, everyone is going to see the march. It's happening. There's planes flying around and everywhere, so everyone should hopefully listen to us, finally.
Definitely, I agree. I think it's finally time for a bit of listening up. I mean, we're well overdue a time for listening up, but yeah, definitely a strong message being sent today to our new government to, as it says in the banner, restore nature now, I think, and just the fact that it is so urgent, time's running out. Well, we're getting to a tipping point already, so it's now or never, really. So listen. yeah.
I think so quickly that we forget that we are, part of nature. Often we see ourselves as something so different, but actually it's reminding everyone, isn't it, that we are an integral part of that very sensitive and delicate system. Even though it seems strong, actually our impact on it has been huge, but the things that we can do, we have the solutions, don't we?
Yeah, we've seen that on our walk even. We've walked through some of the most amazing biodiverse woodlands in Devon, and then we suddenly get to places near Wolverhampton and Wolverhampton and Birmingham, and it's just so nature depleted, and this world is so fragile. But camping every day, we're so in tune with the nature and around us, and it just shows you how much difference just taking small actions can have, really.
It really does. Yeah, it's just been incredible to see the landscape change and so many different things just transform and loosen things and add, it's been amazing to do this, and we really see the importance of why this march matters.
Totally agree. But if we look behind us right now, the march is arriving. You can see somewhere between 40 to 60,000 people, I heard, making their way here to Parliament Square at the minute. It's amazing. You've got everyone. You've got the RSPB, you've got the National Trust, you've got the RSPCA, you've got the Woodland Trust, you've got all the big things, but you've got the grassroots stuff. You've got Hunt Saboteurs, Extinction Rebellion, everyone coming together with that shared commonality, because we're all working towards the same thing, so why not stand together?
Yeah, precisely. I think it's an absolute no-brainer. We're literally just collaboration. This is it. We're all together. And we have to be. So yeah, really, really good.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much. I'll let you dive on in and have a great time. So that's kind of it for this part of the live stream. I have to dash off because I actually have to get up on stage and invite people up to chat and talk and do some speeches. But thank you so much, of course, everyone that's watched here and been part of virtual Restore Nature Now. It's so important. Keep using your voice for nature. Tell your friends about it. Tell your postman, your milkman, whoever will listen. Tell them about wildlife, because we need to use our voices now more than ever. It's the most important tool that we all have. So stand up, be counted, shout louder as loud as you possibly can for the sake of our glorious natural environment. Right, I better get going. Oh no, we have one. Hello, sorry. Come on, we're going to have one more chat as the march arrives. Hello, how are you? I'm Mark.
Very well, thanks.
Oh, sorry, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And sorry, I was slightly late, so it was my fault that you've hung on for me, and I really appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome. So you're part of the campaigns and comms team for the National Trust?
That's right. Communications Campaigns Director for the National Trust. Incredibly proud to be here. Wow, what an occasion.
Yeah, well, we're very pleased to have you here. What have you made of it so far?
Well, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, we think about 70,000 people are here, marching down as they are from Mayfair, just coming into Parliament Square now. And you can just sense just this incredible atmosphere. It's slightly a festival atmosphere, actually, but also a sense of real passion and conviction about nature restoration.
What's the one message you kind of hope that people will take from this event today?
I think it's politicians really need to listen. I mean, it is the main issue that really hasn't come to the fore through this electoral campaign, and that's extraordinary when you consider how important nature is to people in this country. I mean, 79% of people are saying not only is it important to their well-being and also to the economy, but 4 in 10 people are saying they will think about who they vote for given their environmental policies. So actually the National Trust today, is my little prop here on the front page of the newspaper, as you can see, has launched a campaign, and it's basically about politicians taking seriously, whoever they are, whatever political party, water quality in the state of the UK's rivers.
So important, and something we've spoken a bit about with the sewage and everything that's happening and threatening these really vulnerable ecosystems, but we've got to do something about it now, surely.
Absolutely, and I think the fact that you have got such a span of organisations here tells you something. I mean, the National Trust was founded to look after nature and green spaces. Way back in 1895, we were fundamentally a campaigning organisation, so in a way you can see us going full circle by being here, because we are campaigners at heart.
Good, well, I'm pleased to hear it. We need to use our voices now more than ever, and everyone is a piece of that puzzle, so it's great to have you here.
No, it's great to be here. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate it. Okay, see you later. Right, well, now people really are gathering behind me, so I really better dash up on stage so we can get started with everything. Thank you so much. Remember, use your voices, shout louder than ever before. Right, see you later. Bye. I've got to run.
How far away should we be? The closer the better, guys. Yeah.
Back a bit, please, to allow the choir to come in. The choir wants to come in here and sing. So if we could, we all move back. If we can go back behind the camera, that'd be brilliant. Behind the camera. We can all move back a bit for the choir to come in. Behind the camera, if you could. If you can. Can we all move back a bit so the choir can come in, please? If we can all keep moving back a little bit, please, that'd be lovely. Thank you very much. Could we all move back a bit for the choir to come in, please? Can we all keep moving back a bit, please? That'd be lovely. Thank you very much. If we can all keep moving back, please, so we can get the choir in. 200 people. So, apparently it's 200. So I'm told. Can the climbing choir get through to the stage, please? Climbing choir through to the stage. Thank you.
Right. Is it here all right?
Wherever you can.
Here. Can we make space for the climbing choir to get through to the singers? The climbing choir are here to entertain you.
Everyone keep moving back a bit, just a touch. We've got some singers to go in front here.
Can you move, please, and let the climbing choir have some space? Bunching up. Can you make some space for the climbing choir, please?
Day so far. We have just heard that there's between 80 and 100,000 of you. It's amazing. So thank you so much for coming and being here. Right, we're going to get started right away, and I'm going to introduce the Climate Choir. We've got Dave, we've got Sally, Fiona, Kay, Kai, and Kimway. So huge round of applause for the Climate Choir, please.
And we've got you.
I'll tell you all this song. It's just like a song you know, but no one else has got the word angels in it, and we're going to sing the word nature. I sit and wait. Mother Nature contemplates my fate. And do they know the place the river flowed in the days of old? Sing with us as I have been told. Do you know the words? That salvation lets her wings unfold. So when I'm lying in my bed, thoughts running through my head, and I feel that love is dead, Climate Choir. I'm loving nature instead. All of you, and through it all, she offers me protection, a lot of love and affection, whether I'm right or wrong. And down the waterfall, wherever it may take me, I know that life won't break me. When I come to call, she won't forsake me. Sing it! I'm loving nature instead. When I'm feeling weak and my pain walks down a one-way street, I look above and I know I'll always be blessed with love. And as the freedom grows, she brings flesh to my bones. And when love is dead, what do you sing? I'm loving nature instead. Sing it! And through it all, she offers me protection, a lot of love and affection, whether I'm right or wrong. Down the waterfall, wherever it may take me, I know that life won't break me. When I come to call, she won't forsake me. I'm loving nature instead. Restore nature, restore nature, restore it now. Restore nature, restore nature, restore it now. Restore nature, restore nature, restore it now. Great singing. Restore nature, restore nature, restore it now. And through it all, she offers me protection, a lot of love and affection, whether I'm right or wrong. And down the waterfall, wherever it may take me, I know that life won't break me. When I come to call, she won't forsake me. I'm loving nature instead. Sing with us, restore nature. Nature, restore nature, restore it now. And let's hope they can hear us in there. Can you hear us? Restore nature, Sing for the world you love. Restore nature, restore nature, restore it now. Beautiful voices. Restore nature, restore nature, restore it now. Let's hear those voices. 1, 2, 3. Restore nature, restore nature, restore it now. 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 Woo, woo, woo. Well done, you guys.
Thank you, mate. Did you sing along? For the Climate Choir. All you beautiful organisms. Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. What are we going to do this afternoon? Restore nature now.
Restore nature now.
Louder. Restore nature now.
Restore nature now. Restore nature now.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Now, before we start off, I've got a request here from the stewards. We are worried about a crush at the front. There are lots of young people here at the front. Would everyone very gently and slowly edge backwards by 1.75 metres?
Oh, stop it. You're too specific.
1.75 metres. Just edge back a little bit. There's not a lot of room down the front. That's great. Thank you very much. You can see movement taking place.
It's great.
We've got a full lineup of speakers coming up, haven't we, Beast?
Oh, we've got some great people who are going to be talking to you a bit about their passions and a plea for restoring nature now. And we're starting off with an excellent first guest. She's a fantastic wildlife TV presenter. She's also president of the Wildlife Trust. Without further ado, Liz Bonnin, everyone.
Let's hear it for Liz Bonnin.
I'm going to have to take a minute because this is actually quite emotional. It's so amazing to see all your beautiful faces. Hi, I saw you earlier. Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you all for being here and making your voices heard and amplifying our collective message and playing a part in this historic day for nature, for the climate, and for our future. Galvanizing a collective purpose through peaceful protest has proven time and time again to be incredibly effective in creating positive change for the world. You are standing firmly on the right side of history. You understand that without a healthy planet, we can't survive, and it speaks volumes today. This is the culmination of an extraordinary amount of work by so many people and organisations, so a huge thank you to them all too. A mighty 300 different organisations came together to support our message to politicians to put an end... Yeah! Not to mention the... How many are we, Chris and Megan? Like, are we over 100,000 people, do you reckon? 80 to 100,000 people, as well as 300 different organisations, to support our message to politicians to put an end to the shocking and relentless attack on nature. This is what collaboration and the sharing of expertise and resources across different sectors can achieve. We are stronger together, and I have no doubt that as we continue to unify our goals and our ambitions at this crucial time for the planet, we will be stronger than ever and continue to achieve great things. But this is also testament to every single one of you. This is what happens when, as individuals, we reconnect to each other in support of a great cause. As a society, we have been encouraged to be individualized, disconnected from each other, better than, different to,
doubting, fearful. But as a social species, connection and community is how we flourish. It's in our DNA. We need it to be the best of who we are. You're going to get me emotional now. I need to keep it together. Connection energizes us. It inspires us to take care of each other and of nature. And when we give back to nature in reciprocity for all it does for us, everything thrives. This is the source of so much of what makes life worth living. Indigenous peoples and local communities still connected to nature never forgot this, but we need to help each other to remember. Connection empowers us, and perhaps the powers that be don't like that too much. So let's continue to show everyone what we're truly made of, shall we? I'd like to ask you to do two things. First, take a deep breath and notice how you feel right now. How does it feel to be connected to all of these people around you who walked with you, most of them strangers, all with the common goal of standing up for nature? What else will you remember about today? The second thing I'm asking you to do is to tell someone new, someone you don't know, about that. We know from behavioral science that another great force for positive change is sharing our own personal stories. It helps others to relate and empathize. It can change their perception of what's possible and think, if they can do it, maybe I can do it too. So next week, when you're in a coffee shop or at the supermarket or on a train, wherever, speak to even just one other person about how it felt to be here today, connected to everybody else around you. Perhaps you might have a photo on your phone in plain view of you surrounded by all these people. Perhaps you're dancing in the photo, and that can help start the conversation. Find common ground with them and relate it to what you experienced today. By sharing your story, you'll be continuing the beautiful ripple effect of change for the planet and for humanity. And let me tell you, that ripple effect of change is gathering pace. All the organizations here today are tirelessly fighting for nature. More and more business communities are coming together, pledging to prioritize health of the planet above profits and infinite growth. Ecological economists, environmental lawyers are working hard to change the systems that keep us entrenched in endless cycles of production and consumption that destroy nature. And all of these incredible people and organizations are making headway. We just don't hear about it enough in the news. But it is happening. There is still a lot of work to be done, but together we can continue to propel this pace forward, supporting each other as one global community by each doing our bit. True humanity is a oneness, it's an interconnectedness with each other and with nature. Thank you for making this powerful connection felt and heard loud and clear today. Have an amazing day, everyone. Well done all.
Thank you, Liz. Some really important messages there and something to all take home of. We are so much stronger when we're together. When we've got that diversity of ideas, our campaigns become stronger too, which is what is so exciting about this.
OK, he's not 60 and he isn't deadly.
Well,
but he's the best thing since a brace of scorpions and some pit vipers. Put your hand together for Steve Backshall.
Hello, London! I have always wanted to say that. Yes, my name's Steve Backshall, and this fella here is who I am here for. This is Kit. He's my little boy. Kit, you got anything you want to say?
Attack wildlife and stick to wildlife wall.
Yes! My boy. Thank you so much. I've been lucky enough to spend pretty much my entire life working with wildlife, and my finest and most treasured moments have all been right here. When I say right here, I don't mean right here. That would be ridiculous. But I do mean here in our sceptred isles. You know, we have treasures here to equal anywhere else on the planet. I've been paddling off the coast of Cornwall and had a leatherback turtle paddle into my boat. Been swimming in a seagrass meadow and have a spiny seahorse nudging against my mast, and then a grey seal came over and took its place. I've broken through the cornice on the crust of Ben Nevis on the summit as diamond dust snow sparkled, and you could see all the way to the horizon the most beautiful peaks in our continent. And it's ours, it's our heritage, it belongs to us, and it's up to us to take care of it. Now, last year I had a special birthday. I turned 50. That's where... No. That's supposed to be a gasp of disbelief. No, too late now. Come on, don't patronize me. 50 years is a neat metric for measuring change. And in the 50 years that I've been here on this planet, we have more than doubled our human population. In the same time, we've lost more than 60% of our wildlife, more than 30% of our forests. That cannot continue. And it's seeing the positivity, the real adoration of nature that is here today that is going to be the only thing that will stop that. We are the nation of Elgar, of Dylan Thomas, of Jane Goodall, Rabbie Burns, of Michaela fricking Strachan. Nobody loves their nature more than we Brits. And yet, the very people that we have given the stewardship of our nature have been found wanting and have been asleep at the wheel. Now, thank you. Any of you out there who have seen my kids' television series, Deadly 60, I'm going to need your help right now. So to any of you out there, this is how I sum things up normally. I might say, for example, that a peregrine falcon is the fastest creature ever known to have lived, thundering down from cliff faces to hit its prey on the wing at as much as 200 miles an hour. It is definitely... And then you all would respond with deadly. Can you do that for me? Okay, fantastic. So, to believe that the only metric of progress has to be economic growth is definitely... To believe that in a planet of finite resources you can continue that growth indefinitely is definitely... To pour effluent, contaminants, raw sewage into our waterways continually is definitely... And to have a government who can believe that this means nothing and that nature and bringing it back is not critically important would be definitely... I said it's definitely... It is unquestionably... Thank you all very much. Have an amazing day.
Well, there's not a clearer message than that, is there? Not at all. Absolutely adore Steve and everything that he does. Campaigns for nature. I've been to some of his theatre shows, and it is just an absolute spectacle. So thank him very much for being here today. That was great.
OK, now Steve was talking about peregrine falcons. Did you know that less than 500 metres from where you're standing, if you're in Parliament Square, there is a peregrine falcon's nest? Yeah. And they fledged young? Yeah. And I can't see through the roof. So the first person that spots a peregrine falcon flying over the House of Commons this afternoon must shout really loudly and point to the sky. We're relying upon your ornithological expertise. And we'd love to see one of those birds. But now we're going to see Tanya Steele, who's the CEO of WWF, one of the most important conservation charities, not just in the UK, but the whole wide world. Put your hands together for Tanya.
It is amazing to be here with such an incredible crowd. I cannot believe how many people have come out today for nature. Thank you to each and every one of you for marching. It makes a huge difference because, as we all know, nature is in crisis. And the awful fact, the fact I use every single day, is that since 1970, average wildlife populations have plummeted by almost 70%. And in this country, 70% of our ancient woodlands, gone. 92% of our seagrass, gone. Familiar wildlife, skylarks, hedgehogs, are now unfamiliar. And we have rivers choked by pollution. So you're right to feel passionate and angry. But together, we can change things. WWF's really proud to be here alongside nearly 380 organisations today. We work with communities everywhere in the world to protect wildlife, from the Amazon rainforest to the Great Barrier Reef. Yeah, we found a peregrine. And we're proud to work with grassroots community here in the UK. But when we give nature a chance, when we give it a helping hand, it bounces back. We've seen beavers back in our rivers, the return of the large blue butterfly and red kites across nearly all our skies in the UK. Your support, your work, your commitment has made these stories possible. But we know that now our political leaders, the ones that will be in there soon, they need to step up. Our polling shows that 80% of the nation, and I feel like most of you are here today, but 80% of the nation cares about nature and climate change. But more than half don't think our politicians care. Our leaders have fallen behind, and it is time that they caught up. So let's send a clear message to those who want our votes that we expect them to act now, to restore nature now. And recognising too that the actions that we take here, the food we import, the emissions we pump into the atmosphere, affect wildlife and wild places all around the world. And the clock's ticking. Our next government must take what is going to be our last opportunity to protect nature. Because there's no economy without nature. There's no food without nature. There is no future without nature. And if we restore nature, nature will restore us. Let's make sure that everyone asking for our vote on the 4th of July gets that message loud and clear. And thank you so much again. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. Thank you.
Did someone honestly see a peregrine falcon?
Really?
Because all I've seen is a couple of pigeons, you know. And
Are you sure over that
I'm
way?
beginning to doubt that the collective ornithological kudos of 80,000 people is questionable.
There's quite a lot of people in this vicinity pointing, so if anyone's not looking in that direction, that's where it is, apparently.
Right, okay.
Apparently.
Okay.
Hey, white-tailed eagle round Big Ben. It's not, aim high, right?
I once had a meeting with Michael Gove in a building just behind us, and when I went in to speak to him, there were 2 red kites flying around.
Red kites? That's
I
nice,
said to Michael, we have to take a moment and look at these. And we did. And then we got down to business. And that's what it's about today, isn't it? Getting down to business, because we want to send a very clear message to the people who will be incumbent here very soon that we are going to restore nature now.
Now, we know, of course, that nature is so important for our mental well-being and our physical health. And our next guest today is one of my personal very good friends, but also a man I think is slightly superhero, because he's an author. He's a full-time GP who works to save lives round the clock. He goes on television to talk to you all about ailments and issues and educates us all. But he's also a huge, huge ambassador for wildlife. He's the president of the RSPB. Is, of course, the one and only Dr. Amir Khan. Round of applause.
Let's hear it from here.
Hi everyone, how are we doing? It's so nice to see you all. You all look absolutely gorgeous. Honestly, if you can see what I can see, it's a beautiful sight. So I'm Dr. Amir Khan. I am a NHS GP, a broadcaster, president of the RSPB, Vice President of the Wildlife Trust and Butterfly Conservation. And people often ask me, as a doctor, they go, Amir, why are you so worried about nature? As a doctor, surely you should just focus on seeing patients. Well, actually, I'm here today because I really believe that our health and the health of our environment and the nature around us is inextricably linked. I mean, how can it not be? We've evolved alongside nature. We breathe the air that it gives us, we drink the water it brings us, and we rely on the food it allows us to grow, all those bounties it provides for us. And if any of those systems get sick, then so do we. And that's what we're seeing now. The system is sick, and we are seeing that. And my job as a doctor is to recognise symptoms and put them together and diagnose and treat an illness. And this nature crisis that we're in now is a symptom. It's a symptom of a much bigger disease, a disease that has been allowed to happen by a small number of people who benefit from it. And for the rest of us, we get sicker. For the rest of us, our planet gets sicker. For the rest of us, our wildlife numbers deplete. So it's really important that we act now. The air we breathe is vital to our health. If we breathe in polluted air, the kind of things that we breathe in cause inflammation in our body. It causes something called oxidative stress that increases our risk of respiratory illnesses like asthma and emphysema. It increases our risk of heart disease and certain cancers. It's even been linked to dementia and premature death. We've seen already the negative effects that polluted water can have on our health. We've seen sewage being pumped into our rivers, agricultural waste, industrial waste, urban waste. All of that has led to me seeing patients in my own area with E. coli infections because they've been swimming in those rivers. We saw recently cryptosporidium infections in certain parts of Devon. We need that to stop. And it doesn't just stop there. It's the food that we eat. With climate change, with warmer and wetter winters, a lot of our crops are likely to fail. It's predicted that about 17.5% of wheat and barley is going to fail as the weather changes. And that's going to lead to increased food prices and more food poverty. I work in inner city Bradford, one of the most socially deprived areas in the country. I already see the cost of living crisis and the effect that has on people's health. As food prices go up because of climate change, I'm going to see more and more of that. We're all going to see more and more of that. We're going to see health inequalities widen. The rich will be able to manage. They'll be fine. But the most vulnerable in our society will really suffer as a result. And it's not just us. Thank you. It's not just us. All of this is having a lasting impact on the environment and the biodiversity around us. We've lost 38 million birds from our skies in the last 50 years. 97% of our wildflower meadows have disappeared. And England is one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. That is shameful. That is shameful. We also have one of the lowest woodland covers of all of Europe. Again, that is shameful. And according to the State of Nature report, 1 in 6 of our British species is at risk of extinction. So what we need is an environmental rights bill. We need the next government, whoever that is, whoever that is, to put a plan in place that will really restore nature now. We've got legal protections for nature, but we haven't seen any main political party have a tangible plan that makes sure those legal protections stay in place. And there are solutions to all of this. There are solutions. We need green jobs. We need to move to renewable energies. We need polluters to pay for all of that. And we need this commitment by 2030, 30% of our land and seas for nature. And we also need to work with our farmers. We need to make nature-friendly farming. We need to create incentives around that for our farmers as well. So, thank you. Thanks. So as a doctor, there is a cure. There's a cure for all of this. We can do it. We have a chance now to restore nature. We have a chance to move towards a greener, more peaceful future where we can live in harmony with nature, where our skies aren't filled with pollutants but are filled with birds and insects and anything that wants to fly in our skies naturally, where our rivers and seas aren't filled with sewage and industrial and farmyard waste but filled with fish and mollusks and dolphins and whales, and where food poverty doesn't exist as a result of climate crisis, where we can grow crops alongside nature. That's the cure. That's the cure for this disease. And we want those in power to listen. So let's restore nature now. Thank you.
A legend. I don't know how he has enough hours in the day. I really don't. He is such a special person that works so dedicatedly to the restoration of not only our personal health but our planet's health as well. Now, quick announcement. It is getting a little bit packed in Parliament Square, so make sure you have space. If you are struggling, do put your hand up. There are screens over on Whitehall Road, so if you are on Whitehall Road, stay there, watch the screens. Don't try to come to Parliament Square because it's getting a little bit packed, especially for people at the back and in the middle. Okay, so Richard Taylor-Jones over this way is pointing up to the sky, and if you look above, you'll see a peregrine falcon. Can everyone see it? Yes, it's right there. A quick interlude for the peregrine, everybody. It's right there. It's literally up at the top here. Yes! There's two. I'm hearing two. Three. There are three peregrine falcons. Stop it. That's a bit exciting, isn't it? Wildlife making appearance when we're here trying to fight for it. That's so brilliant. You don't get that very often on your nature marches. That's lovely. Yeah, above your head. I mean, I can't see it. I'm just seeing all the joy on your beautiful faces, and I'm loving every second of it. This is brilliant. Okay, we'll keep an eye on the peregrine. But we're going to stick to time, so I'm going to drag Indy Green, who's currently watching the peregrine, on stage now to say a few words. Welcome, Indy Green.
Hello, my name's Indy. I'm 19 years old. I live in Sherwood Forest in Nottinghamshire, and I'm an ambassador and a youth council member with the RSPB. And it's so incredible to be here. And me and my partner, Katie, are currently walking from Land's End to John O'Groats, raising money for a great charity. So it was great to hear Nadeem talking about a bit of health, so I might need to have a catch-up with him, because our legs are getting a little bit sore now. The blisters are catching up with us, but hey-ho, it's good fun. We're out every day. And to be honest, peregrines have actually been one of the birds that we've actually seen most abundant in terms of birds of prey. We've seen so many of them. It's absolutely brilliant. And, yeah, keep pointing them out, because it's so cool to actually, see the reaction from people watching amazing birds of prey, any species at all. And that's one of the biggest things we've taken from this walk, is the actual sense of just enjoying nature and enjoying what's around us and taking in just how important everything is. And it's so great to see that celebrated with so many people and so many different organisations today. It's been great working with the RSPB for a little while now, and just seeing the way things work and the way we create change. There's a goal there. I'm getting distracted now. Don't look, it's a goal, it's all right. We'll look out for the peregrines soon. But it's just amazing, the fact that change is happening and we're all here. And it's, how do I say this? No one has ever made a difference by being like everybody else. So everybody being here is just making a difference. There's so many names I could pick out the hat, but there's so many incredible people doing so many amazing, inspiring things that can all inspire us, just to make even small changes in our daily lives. And there was just one tweet that I dig down in my screenshots on my phone last night that Chris made a little while ago, and I just think it's really important. I just think it really encapsulates why we need to look after nature. And it was I don't know if you remember this, Chris, but it was a long time ago. But he said, "Say hello to my to my little friend, fluffy and delightful, looking for a home. I gave it a helping hand. Everything counts, every last living thing, because we make being alive so difficult for them." And that was a little bumblebee that he rescued. And I just think that's such a beautiful little encapsulation of how important it is to take care of everything. Anything you can do, any small thing, any tiny change in your daily life can have such a big impact. People are starting to become so much more converted to being, interested in nature and caring about climate change and wanting to make a difference. So keep it up. And without further ado, I will introduce an absolute change maker, somebody who is pushing those boundaries, somebody who is being different, somebody who's also one of the coolest people I know. So, if he's ready, I'll hand over to the brilliant Nadeem Pereira.
London, London, London. You look beautiful today. So my name is Nadeem Pereira. Before we get started, I just want you all to make some noise for yourselves today for turning up on such a Saturday where you could be doing anything, but you guys are all here to protect and stand for the nature that we all know and love. So big respect to everybody here. Everybody here. Now, just so I don't get caught in the adrenaline of being on the stage, we're going to do a quick selfie. Super quick. Okay, now serious stuff. So, for me, if there's one thing to learn about nature, it's for me is that there's more than one way to achieve a common goal. So, if we look at the golden eagle and the bumblebee, they fly in the very, very same air. If we look at the plankton on the microscopic level down to the gargantuan blue whale, they swim through the same waters. And that, for me, is a fundamental part of biodiversity, and that is a fundamental part of what we are trying to protect here as a collective today. But I do... Make some noise for biodiversity, of course. But what I do find that is often overlooked is that the diversity in our approach as human beings is often put to the wayside. And that is what I want to emphasize here today. In my English borderline working class vernacular, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So that's my focus today. And what I hope to share with you guys and with all the organizations here today is that we need these different perspectives when approaching the problem solving that the natural world is facing. Now me, I've not been in a classroom since I was 15 years old. Stay in school, kids, okay? Now obviously, stay in school. But what I want to highlight is that for a lot of my life, I was shunned and made to feel embarrassed because I was not educated, classically educated. But here I am today, on this stage, I have become a voice, not only for nature, but for communities who are underrepresented in that space. So, born on a council estate, East London, single mum, all of that. When I was in school, knife crime was the highest in my borough, the highest. And I was labelled troublesome, disruptive, rebellious. And now, if you ask anybody that knows me, they would describe me as troublesome, disruptive, rebellious. So, one thing I found is that whilst I was shunned from the classical education system, there was one place that always welcomed me with a warm embrace. And that one place was the forest. It was nature. Nobody in those woods would judge me. Nobody would ask me to be anything I didn't want to be. They allowed me to be exactly as I was, no matter how I was at that time. And that is the ultimate message I want to send today, is that there is no one way to be a lover of nature. We can all love it in the way we see fit. So the final thing I want to highlight here is that nature needs all of us. Now, a lot of us here will have ecology, zoology degrees from Oxford, Cambridge, Bristol Uni. Well done. Well done. Okay, big up yourselves for doing that. Big up yourselves. But I do want people to remember, especially the young people, yes, school is very important. And if I could do my life again, maybe I would go to school. But do not think for a second that if you don't fit into classical education, there is no place for you in this conversation. There is. There is. There is. So remember, if we do these differences of approaches, the next time if you do hold one of these degrees and you're speaking with someone like me, include us in the conversation, because we have great ideas, we have great input and great contributions that often are a lot cooler. But together, guys, we are more creative, we are stronger, and we protect nature. Thank you very much.
Nadine Pereira, everyone. He's such a legend, using his voice, of course, for nature and communities all across the UK. It's so great to feel everyone's energy when Flock Together first started. I remember looking at it on social media and thinking, what an amazing movement. How does something like this not already exist? It was an absolute wrong thing that it wasn't already in existence. And Nadeem and the work of his friends to get it up and going, get it running is so powerful and so important. It's a brilliant organisation.
Thanks, Beast. Now, last weekend, you may have seen the Trooping of the Colour. The royal family on the balcony. And they had the red arrows as a fly past. But we've just had peregrine falcons. Yeah. You can keep your red arrows. We've got the fastest animals on the planet ever. Next up, I want to put your hands together, please, to welcome Assad Raymond. The issues that we're talking about are not central to the UK, they're global issues, and Assad is going to speak to us about that. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. First of all, respect to all of you, and I bring greetings from the global climate justice movement. And I'm not as tall as Nadeem, so it's going to go down. All right. And I'm not going to be as funny as Nadeem either. Friends, we are standing together at an unprecedented moment. Our planet, a magnificent web of life that provides the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, this symphony of life that sustains all of us now hangs by a thread, under constant threat by the intersecting crisis, not only of the climate catastrophe, of inequality and poverty, of collapsing ecosystems, but the relentless scourge of war and injustice. Violence against human beings going hand in hand with violence against Earth itself. It's a path of destruction that we know began 500 years ago, when colonisers exploited land and people, stripping them of their resources and their wealth. And it broke our connection not only with land, but with each other, and has left half the world still struggling to survive. And today, and that continues today, when nature and communities alike continue to be plundered for profit, when forests are felled and rivers are poisoned and lands are scorched and wildlife driven to extinction, those on the front lines, indigenous peoples, black and brown communities, the poor, those who are the custodians of our lands, are also being sacrificed. And the scars of those conflicts over access to resources, of land and power, are already being borne, not just by our land, but by the people themselves. And today, that continues to be driven by the fossil fuel industry, by deforestation for industrial agriculture, and by the giant corporations who for them profit and greed are the only thing that matters. And now we know, we look around the world, as natural habitats shrink and biodiversity declines, the competition for what remains becomes ever more deadly. Dwindling water supplies, fertile land and critical minerals are the new flashpoints for war and conflict in every corner of this planet. Ecocide and genocide fill our TV screens on a nightly basis, connecting the past, the present and the future, where the lives of some people matter less than the lives of other people, where food has become a weapon of war and non-human life has no value at all. But friends, amidst this bleak reality, there is also hope and a way forward, where for climate and ecological justice, must also be a fight for decolonisation and peace. Where we rebuild our bonds within our societies and across our societies. Where this fight to restore our ecosystems is also a fight for the rights of Indigenous people. It's a fight for the rights of those who toil in poverty and a fight for those who continue to cry out in the name of justice. Friends, just imagine a world where nations come together not to wage war, not to drop bombs on innocent civilians, but to fight together for the survival of our planet and its people. Where the never-ending resources poured into weapons and conflict are redirected towards repair, restoration and reparation. We know another world is not only possible, but essential, and it's already been born in every corner of the world. When you see the Indian farmers fighting to protect their food systems and their land, when you see Indigenous movements protecting what's left of our biodiversity, and here, where our climate justice movement has connected the call for a ceasefire in Gaza with targeting those who are not only profiting from fossil fuels, but also from arms sales. Friends, together, we have the power to build a world where the wounds of colonialism are healed, where biodiversity thrives and war is a distant memory. We owe it to those who came before us and those who will come after us that today, as a movement of movements, we stand as stewards of the earth, as guardians of biodiversity, as champions of peace, and as sisters and brothers across races and borders, and fight for a just, peaceful and sustainable world where everyone has the right to live with dignity and in harmony with our planet. Thank you.
Let's hear it again for Assad Raymond. Powerful words. But it's time for a break.
It's time for a minute to sit down, well, stand up and relax. Now, if you take your attention to the screens, we're here to talk about wildlife. We're here to talk about the pure joy of it. This is a celebration of wildlife. Too often we talk about the downside, the declines, the statistics. But you have to remind yourself what you're fighting for, remind yourself what you believe in sometimes. And that has to be done by watching the wildlife we love. So we've put together a nature film for you, filmed by James Stevens. And you can look at the screens right now and immerse yourself in the joys of wildlife. joy and excitement and so much more motivation to stand up here and shout that little bit louder, which is what we're going to do now. But first and foremost, we're going to listen to some beautiful music. Now, music has the power to engage us in so many different ways. So without further ado, Davies and Daughters.
Thank you. We are Davis and Daughters. This is Sally, my mother. This is Flo, my sister, and I'm Holly. And Sally is a composer, and she wrote this song for Earth Day 4 years ago, and it's called Restore Our Earth. Restore our earth. Restore our earth. Restore our earth. Restore our air. Restore our sea. Restore, renew, renew, restore our earth. It's the only one. 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 It's the only one
one we've got. Restore our earth, restore our earth, restore our earth.
That was beautiful. Those harmonies are absolutely stunning. Just going to have a bit of a microphone rejiggle, I think. Right, that was amazing. Really beautiful. Anyone that can sing like that has my utmost admiration. Really beautiful, very powerful stuff. Now, next up, we have a really young but very, very powerful, someone who's not afraid to use his voice, wildlife enthusiast, climate active, science communicator, Anishwa Kanchala, everybody. How are you, Anishwa?
I'm brilliant. How is London, everyone? Is everyone ready to save our world? Well, let's get to it.
I love that. Simple. It's great. So tell me a little bit about how you felt being here today, Anishwa. Why is it so important that everyone stood here?
Well, I feel that it's important because of the numbers. I understand that one or two people might not be enough to make the biggest difference we can. But with an audience like all of you, we can all be sure to make the best difference we can. And we all can share it with friends and family, which would be able to spread it even wider to maybe even different parts of the globe.
Now, you've been quite busy making this fantastic poster covering all the UK and some amazing wildlife. How long did that take you?
Well, that took me 1 day to make.
A day?
Yeah.
God, you're good.
Because of all of the paintings that I did were paintings that I did before, and then I printed them out, but less about that and more about what they are. All of these animals are from different places where they're from. The red squirrels are needing homes, and they are lost because of the mighty grey squirrels, which you might see day to day, are destroying their habitat and making them run for their life. And as well, monarch butterflies, it's getting too warm for them where they are supposed to go, and lots of hurricanes are disrupting where they're supposed to go, and that would be really bad for their migrations. And they are famous for being one of the best migrating insects of all. And I can totally agree. And falcons are, well, they're just here. They're helping us with all the things. And we should appreciate them as well, because they're such amazing creatures. And without falcons, all the rats and mice which might contaminate our food because they might hold some diseases, but it's not their fault. And the peregrine falcons will be able to clean it up and make sure that none of the diseases go too far to humans. And that means we all can stay healthy, and all the animals as well can stay healthy. And all of these different animals all have their part in the food chain, along with us humans. So we all should actually try our best to help protect our future of our world. Who's with me?
Okay, Anishwa.
Let's hear it for Anishwa.
Thank you.
The future's not ours. The future is his. Let's make sure it's healthy. Thank you, Anishwa.
And as well, remember, all we should do to try and make sure our world is the best it can be is to save our wildlife.
Get everyone to shout, restore nature now.
And everyone, on the count of 3, restore nature now, the loudest you can. 1, 2, 3. Restore nature now!
He's such an amazing young man. Thank you, Anishwa.
Brilliant.
Bless him, he didn't actually know he was coming up on stage until about 5 minutes ago. So the confidence that he has is just exceptional. He's so great at communicating about the wildlife we all know and love. Now, next up, we've got a man who really needs no introduction. He is the founder and CEO of Ecotricity. He's a passionate man making the world a better place. It is the one and only Dale Vince.
Thanks, everybody. I got something I want to share with you. Often people refer to it as the cow in the room. It's the blind spot of many people that care about the climate, that care about the environment, of NGOs that do both those things. And the blind spot is our diet. Thank you. So we know nature is in decline. The stats are scary. 50% of farmland birds, 80% of butterflies, 97% of wildflower meadows. We've heard that stuff. What's the cause? Is it concreting the countryside for development? Is it the climate crisis? Is it the oil industry? It's none of those things. It's what we choose to eat. And I'll explain that to you. Farmland takes up 75% of our country. And we use it overwhelmingly to grow plants, to feed animals, to feed ourselves. And that is such an inefficient system. A cow is the worst example. We put 10 times more protein into a cow than we get back out. The best example is a chicken, and it gives us half back from what we put in. It's an incredibly inefficient system, and that's why we've taken so much land. The decline of nature is about taking land from nature for farming for an inefficient food system. And the great news is, if we all stop eating animals today, tomorrow, whenever in our country, we can free up 75% of that farmland, right? And that's 75% of 75%. Do the maths. That's half of our entire country that we can give back to nature. Thank you, guys, because I'm so glad you received it that way, because I thought I might be telling you something you didn't want to hear, right? Because I did anyway. So for me, it's the fourth reason to be vegan. Often we talk about the climate, we talk about animal rights, we talk about human health. There's a fourth reason, and it's for wildlife in our country. The great news is it's in our power, this thing. We all choose our food every day. We go to the shops, we buy it, we eat it, whatever it is. we can choose to chew differently. We don't have to wait for governments. We don't have to wait for big corporations. If we stop buying that stuff, they stop making it. And for me, that's an empowering message. We can bring back nature to our country one plate at a time, one meal at a time. When you leave here today, I mean, I don't know how many of you are vegan. Come on. That's wonderful. I'm so chuffed. But, you know, persuade people around you. It's not about giving it up overnight, right? Just start eating less animals, and we can start bringing nature back. We can give back half our entire country. That's my message. I just want to say, I mean, I was going to say this. It won't apply to all of you, but look, now you know, when you leave here today, if you get a Big Mac, the sparrow gets it. So don't do it. All right, Chris.
Dale, when we were walking earlier today, you told me that you were making burgers out of grass. Tell us a bit about your project.
Yeah, so we're making protein powder from grass, and it kind of has got two roots. One is forever. I've had debates on social media with people that don't like the idea that we shouldn't be eating animals, and the fallback argument is, yes, but we can't eat grass, therefore we might as well graze animals, and et cetera, which is not a good argument because we can let nature have that grass. But that's one thing. The second thing is we're making gas from grass right now. It's a way to replace the fossil gas in our gas main. We're doing that in Reading, and I just had the idea, why don't we put the two together? Maybe we can take protein out of the grass before we put it in the gas mill and we make grass from it. We've done it in the lab. We take protein out of grass twice as efficiently as a cow can, and there's enough grass grown in our country every year to feed the whole country protein-wise twice over.
Okay. Next up in your list of entrepreneurial ecological fantasticities, what about the electric aircraft? How's that coming?
Yeah. We call it EcoJet, and basically it runs on hydrogen, using a fuel cell to turn the hydrogen into electricity with no combustion and no pollution, and then we run electric motors instead of kerosene-powered engines to drive propellers. We should be in the air by the end of this year, flying in... Awesome. Flying in Britain with a range of 300 miles to begin with, and I think it's a 70-seat capacitor airplane, so a proper airplane, proper routes. Give us 18 months, we'll be doing 500 miles and 90-seat capacity. Give us 2.5, 3 years, we'll be flying to Europe 1,000-mile range with no pollution at all. I just want to say one thing about this, because aviation gets a lot of headlines. It's not actually a lot of our emissions, but it's a big emotional issue. And if we're trying to bring the bulk of people with us on this mission to net zero, green living, whatever you want to call it, we can't go around telling them we have to give things up. And flying is a great example of that. There's a different way to do everything that we need to have, that we want to have, and EcoJet is probably the greatest example.
Let's hear it for Dale Vince.
Thank you all, and thank you for Chris for putting this on. I'm off.
That's the sort of genius that we need to get us out of a jam. But whilst we're on aviation, I'd like to introduce you to Ella. Ella, come on out. Come on here. Let's have a big hand for Ella. Now, Ella is a Taylor Swift fan. Ella, tell us why you like Taylor Swift so much.
I think she's just such an inspiration to, like, so many people. And, yeah, she really inspires me to do everything that I want to do.
And will you be rushing away from our gathering this afternoon to see Taylor Swift this evening?
No, but I'm going tomorrow night. So.
And you're very excited about that?
Yeah, very.
OK, now, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but what do you think about your idol, Taylor Swift, using private jets? Hold on. Listen, you're not Taylor Swift fans. Ella's a Taylor Swift fan. Let's hear what her fans think about her using those private jets. Ella, tell us how you feel.
I don't think it's very good because it means she has a huge carbon footprint, and the fact that her younger fans are going to have to grow up in this earth, she's sort of polluting it. But yeah.
Ella, I know you're a fan of Taylor, but can you sing?
Kind of.
Well, I can't sing, so we'll both agree with kind of. But what I'd like to do, because I think, how many people are going to Wembley to see Taylor? What's the capacity? Do you know? It's about 90, 100,000, isn't it?
90,000, yeah.
So there'll be 90,000 people at Wembley tonight. And the police have told us there's 80 to 100,000 people here today. So should we send Taylor a message? Taylor, give up your jets. Taylor, give up your jets.
Taylor, give up your jets. Taylor, give up your jets.
Taylor, give up your jets. Taylor, give up your jets. Taylor! I said I couldn't sing. Give up your jets, Taylor. Give up your jets. Come on, we want it louder than this. We want all of those fans at Wembley to hear it. One more go. Taylor, give up your jets. Taylor, give up your jets. Okay, send that to Taylor Swift. And stick it in your pollution package and smoke it. I hope you have a... Oh, I've got a friendship bracelet. So we've managed to offend all of the Swifties, but they're still our friends. Testament to those young people. Ella, thank you very much for being so honest.
You've stolen my microphone. You stole my one. There you go. Hello. I got one as well. What does yours say? Yours says Swift.
It says, please leave me alone, don't pick on me anymore.
All right. Message taken.
Oh, no, hold on. I flipped it over and it said, I'm giving up my jets. I've realised the error of my ways.
God, that happened quickly, didn't it? Gosh, she listened, she heard and she acted. Brilliant. Next up, we have a man who is probably much better at singing than you are.
I
mean, that's not that much of a stretch, is it?
I think that I was singing along to him in 1979 at Southampton University, and I'd sent him a cassette of a band that I was playing in called the Titanic Survivors, asking if we could support his band, and he said no. But I'm not going to hold it against him, because he gave me teenage kicks all through the night, and now he's our greatest campaigner for fresh water in the UK. He is the one, the only, Feargal Sharkey. Let's hear it.
You wonderful, beautiful, extraordinary-looking people. How glorious to see you all here. Give yourselves a thunderous round of applause for making it all this way. Champion. There is, however, one thing I have to share with you. You've been lied to. You've been cheated. You've been misled. You've been told untruths. You've been promised greatness. You've been promised a world that is brighter, more prosperous, greener than anything we've ever seen before. And you have been lied to. As I stand here, there is not a single river anywhere in England that is not polluted. And one of the largest sources of that pollution is the water industry. They have bled our chalk streams dry. They have filled the remains with sewage. And along the way have pocketed £72 billion of your cash, your money, that is now residing in a bank account somewhere offshore on an atoll in the middle of the tropics. They have paid... They have paid their executives unbelievably untold amounts of your money. To give you one simple example, there is a chief executive at just one water company who has been paid £27.7 million over the last 10 years. Funny you should say that. I may come back to that. In 2009, 25% of England's rivers were in good ecological condition. By 2015, that had dropped to 16%. And as we stand here today, just 14% of England's rivers meet that level. The Environment Agency's current projection is by 2027, just 6% of England's rivers will be in good ecological condition, healthy, with a possible future. They have been exploited, they have been drained, and all of it to do nothing more than drive and motivate corporate greed, financial engineering, profiteering, and all of it underwritten and overseen by an incompetent, failing political system and a regulatory system that is unfit, is incompetent, is disabused, and should be demolished. But ironically, there is hope. Because in just 12 days' time, we have the opportunity to transform this country. In 12 days' time, we have the opportunity to right those injustices and ensure that your voice is the voice that will be heard and that will run and that will dominate. That is why today is the first day, and why you now need to be sure to let the men and women that will inhabit that building in 13 days' time, in July the 5th, hear your voice, hear the flood of humanity you're generating, hear the flood of defiance you're now prepared to put in the way, hear the flood of obscenities that you will not allow this to go on any longer, certainly not in your name, certainly not in your children's name. Today is the day it stops. I need you to make a promise today. If, under a new government, this is not resolved in a meaningful, proactive, driven, ambitious way, with a government with a vision and determination, then we will want change, and we will want change for a second time. And if the needs be, promise me you will all be back here again, 2 times more, 3 times more, and if need be, we will come back 100 times and bring 1 million people. You are the most important people in this conversation, because you in your hand hold the biggest voice of all that this nation has ever seen. It's called democracy. Because in 12 days' time, I am going to demand of you, I will insist that you go to a ballot box and you vote for who you think will actually deliver the change that we want, because I, for one, am not prepared to live in this world, and I, for one, am not prepared to leave this legacy of this ruinous, corrupt madness, and I am not prepared to hand that legacy to my children, their children, the children of my children's children. It all stops on July the 4th. Get out there, give them hell, make your voice heard. Let's change this country. My name is Feargal Sharkey. May your God go with you.
I grew up listening to the Undertones, and I didn't think I could love Feargal Sharkey anymore. But then he started campaigning for wildlife. And, what a force to be reckoned with he is. Now, I've just seen a fantastic sign here that says, less feces, more species. So, after me, everybody, less feces, more species. Less feces, more species.
Brilliant.
Hey, for a dyslexic person, you did that tongue twister quite well, didn't you?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've been practicing.
Fantastic stuff. Right, listen, from one hero to another, now the hero of the hour. I hope you'll all put your hands together and scream with delight, because we're going to give you Sarah Finch. Oh, he's already snuck up on me. Sarah, I'll hold that. You hold this. Tell us why we all think you're the hero of the hour, and don't be modest.
Well, I, along with my colleagues in the amazing Wheel Action Group, we won a massive court victory in the Supreme Court just there this week. We won a fight that we've been fighting for 5 years against a small little oil... Yeah, we've been fighting, more than 5 years, but 5 years through the courts against a little oil site in Surrey that Surrey County Council gave planning permission to build 4 more oil wells and to produce oil for 20 years, yes, in a climate emergency. We thought this was wrong because they hadn't looked at the emissions that would result from the burning of the oil when they gave permission for the drilling of the wells. So we went to court initially thinking we'd just get this planning permission for this one little site turned down, but it soon became apparent that we could actually tackle the whole planning system for oil and gas. And our win this week means that as from now, anybody who wants to drill an oil well, dig a coal mine, get gas out of the ground, they have to do a proper environmental impact assessment that takes account of the emissions of that fuel when it's burned. Yeah. I mean... Thank you. I mean, it sounds obvious, I think, to anyone here. You think the emissions from the oil that is burned is an impact of getting it out of the ground, because if you left it in the ground, it couldn't be burned and the emissions couldn't arrive. You'd be amazed how many lawyers we've heard working for the government, the oil company, West Cumbria coal mine, who else? Surrey County Council, saying that that wasn't the case. But we won, and that applies now not only to all future oil, gas and coal developments, but some that have been already permitted but are subject to legal challenge. So, Cumbria coal mine, Rosebank, massive giant oil and gas field in the North Sea, Jackdaw, Biscathorpe onshore oil well in Lincolnshire. Give it a cheer, Biscathorpe. Yeah. If Horse Hill is illegal, they are too. And a friend of mine in Scotland sent me a photo of the front page of the Scottish Daily Mail. It said, "This court ruling kills off the oil industry." So... So thank you.
Sarah, no, thank you. Let's hear it for Sarah. And the World Action Group, of course. A landmark judgment that could change all of our futures, made by a tiny group of people. Is there anyone in this crowd that thinks that they are not empowered because they're just one drop in an ocean? Because every single one of you may be a drop, but what is an ocean but a multitude of drops? Sarah has proved that if you take people on and you're right, you win. And that meritocracy is shone through. And let's be clear about today. I'm sure many of you out there have never been on a demonstration before. You would never have been able to go home and say to your friends and relatives, "I am an activist." You've taken action. You've taken to the streets. You've empowered yourself to make a difference. You've used your voice. You are shouting above their noise. That is powerful. We are together powerful, and we must use that power. So, as Feargal says, this is not the beginning. It's the beginning that's going to run and run and run. Because on July the 5th, we'll be banging on that door, asking for what we need to restore nature now. Go home, tell your friends, tell your family, tell all the people that couldn't make it that today you were an activist on a demonstration that made a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and that amazing group. It goes to show the power of what some people, can do by using their voices, by shouting above the noise. It can really demonstrate how far things can go. And obviously that massive success is going to have ripples throughout the world. And sometimes we think, wow, what difference can I make in my small area, in my town, in my country? We have to think worldwide. Act local, act global, think local. I think that's one of the most important phrases that we've got. And up next is an amazing Indigenous activist. She's come, she fights for the Amazon. She is so good at using her voice. We've got Namonte, who's going to come up now with her interpreter to tell us a little bit more about the situation over there. And remember, globally is where we must be talking about.
Mi nombre es Nemonte Nenquimo. Soy una mujer guaraní de la Amazonía del Ecuador.
My name is Nemonte Nenquimo. I'm a Guarani woman from the Ecuadorian Amazon.
He volado muy lejos. Me alegra mucho de ver aquí al frente que están hablando sobre la naturaleza, de cuidar, de respetar.
I've come from very far away from the forests of the Amazon, and it makes me so happy and so proud to be amongst all of you today. I see that you love nature, you're speaking to nature, you're listening to nature, and I love this.
Yo vengo en mi Amazonía donde nosotros, los pueblos, los abuelos, estamos conectados con la madre naturaleza espiritualmente y tenemos mucho amor y mucho respeto.
In the Amazon, indigenous peoples have been living there for thousands of years. My elders, my grandparents, my parents, we have tremendous respect for nature. We love nature. We've learned to live with her.
Porque sabemos, sin madre naturaleza no podemos existir, no podemos respirar, no podemos tomar agua limpia.
Because we know without Mother Nature we can't have water, we can't have air, we can't survive as people.
Entonces, a mí me da mucha alegría. De esa forma nosotros podemos construir que se respeta la madre naturaleza, que se escucha.
Only by coming together like we are today can we make sure that we can all join together and respect Mother Earth and protect Mother Earth. That's the only way forward.
¿Por qué digo eso? En último año donde nosotros vivimos, el gobierno ecuatoriano nos ha querido a devorar, nos ha querido destruir.
Where I come from, in the Ecuadorian Amazon, the government continues to want to extract resources from indigenous territories from beneath the ground. They want to devour the earth.
Nosotros, juntos con otros pueblos, hemos unido, hemos enfrentado, nos hemos dicho al gobierno no a la venta.
And together, as indigenous peoples, just like you all today, we banded together, we joined together, we took to the streets, we filed lawsuits, and we together learned how to protect the nature, learned how to force the government away from our lands.
Nuestros abuelos, nuestra abuela han dicho, la gente menos conoce, más destruye.
My elders always say that the people from the outside destroy so much because they know so little about our lands.
Entonces, yo he venido como mujer dar el mensaje muy importante que todos podemos respetar a la madre naturaleza. Si nosotros no respetamos, estamos llevando a la destrucción de la vida.
And that's why I'm here carrying a message. I want everybody to know who we are as indigenous peoples. I want you to know that the Amazon is giving us life. And I've come here so that we can learn to respect Mother Nature, because if we don't, Mother Nature will destroy us.
Yo estoy escuchando mucho en todas partes del mundo de cambio climático que está afectando, pero nosotros como pueblos indígenas estamos conectados con la naturaleza, con Madre Naturaleza. Sabemos que es el llanto de la madre, que es el sentimiento de la madre. Entonces mi mensaje es, como mujer indígena, escuchar y respetar.
And I've come from the Amazon and I've heard a lot about the climate crisis, about climate change. And what I want to say to everybody here is that as indigenous peoples, we're listening to Mother Nature. And for us, climate change is Mother Earth's tears. Climate change is Mother Earth crying. Climate change is the language of Mother Earth trying to communicate to us. And as indigenous peoples, we're listening. We all need to listen to Mother Earth. And that's the only way that we will be able to learn to live with her and respect her. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Amazing. When I was at university, my lecturer said, what are you going to be, when you leave uni? And I said, well, I quite like being an activist. And he raised his eyebrow at me. And I will always remember that expression on his face. But quite frankly, the activism badge is one I wear proudly. I wouldn't want to be anything else. Because if you're an activist, it means you're doing something. And doing something is better than doing nothing.
Okay, and I'm really pleased now to hand over to Rebecca Wrigley from Rewilding Britain, because Rewilding Britain are doing something.
Hi. A bit shorter than you, Chris. What an amazing sea of faces. As Chris said, I'm Rebecca and I'm from Rewilding Britain. And for us, this march is so important because nature is our life support system. So it's not so much about what we can do for nature, but recognizing the amazing things nature does for us. It is the beating heart of our planet. Rewilding is the mass restoration of nature to the point where it can start to take care of itself and take care of us again. And it's becoming impossible to ignore the benefits that rewilding brings. We support a network of rewilders across Britain, many of whom are here today. So shout out if you are a rewilder in the crowd. Woo! And that growing movement is showing just how amazing rewilding is. We have Coast on the Isle of Arran, who have brought together communities to protect their seas, and this marine life is now bouncing back. We have Seawilding on the west coast of Scotland, who are engaging communities to reseed and restore the seagrass and oyster beds in their local loch. We have the community of Langham in the south of Scotland, who have bought out an old grouse moor and are linking nature's restoration with community regeneration. We have, moving down south, urban rewilding projects like at Alistree in Derby. We've got Wild Ken Hill, who are mixing regenerative farming, rewilding, and more traditional conservation. And I'm sure there are many more I can mention, but they sweep right round to the tip of Cornwall, where at Kabila they're restoring our own amazing temperate rainforest. And all are showing that rewilding works ecologically, but they are also showing that rewilding works economically. We've seen that across those projects, the increase, that job numbers, full-time equivalent job numbers, have doubled in England and Wales, and they've gone up an amazing 400% in Scotland. So rewilding can mean jobs for local people, it can mean new nature-based enterprises, it can mean flourishing and thriving communities. So for us, restoring nature and rewilding across 30% of Britain is not just the right thing to do. It is the most productive use of our land and our seas. So we want to see a political commitment to 30% rewilding, and we want to see long-term, sustained funding and financing systems that value and invest in nature. And on the 4th of July, we should all think big and vote wild. And I'm just going to hand over now to the amazing Flo Blackburn, who has done an exploration, a rewilding exploration around Europe for the film Why Not Scotland? So I'd like you to listen to some of her thoughts and reflections on that experience. Thank you very much. Think big and vote wild.
OK, everyone, apparently there's a peregrine over Parliament. Let's hope it's in a predatory mood.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Flo. Last year, I travelled to several nature restoration projects in Europe for a rewilding film called Why Not Scotland, to compare what I saw there with what I know from growing up in rural Scotland. Like the UK as a whole, one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. It was a story of eco-anxiety and despair, turning slowly into hope along the journey. And so I wanted to describe some experiences I had, which enabled me to go from being consumed by eco-anxiety to having a spark of hope again, despite all that we have lost. The loudest dawn choruses I have ever heard in each town and village I visited. In Poland and Germany, I heard multiple cuckoos every single day, almost everywhere I went. Coexistence between people, brown bears and wolves in rural Italy. People proud of the predators they live alongside. And the local economy benefiting from tourists and volunteers coming to see them. Austrians in Vienna living alongside 230 beavers within the city limits. While Austria as a whole has around 8,000 beavers, Norway 70,000, and Poland 125,000, all three countries having previously hunted their beavers to near or full extinction over 100 years ago. Previously drained fields reflooded and teeming with life once again. Swampland expanding so far that after an hour of walking, we were not yet at the end of it. Insects, so plentiful that their beating wings created a loud, constant hum, joined by the triumphant chorus of frogs and clamorous birdsong of those thriving on such abundant insect life. And finally, miles and miles of forest sitting on land that was fully deforested 100 years ago. Many of the processes which had allowed nature to return in force only required people to contribute time and space for it to do so. But the main realization I had was that physically, much of what we have lost here in the UK can return without much difficulty. The current state of nature is a result of historical decision-making, and the future of nature will be down to the choices made here and now. The good news is that much work is already happening around the UK, but with an over-reliance on charities and generous landowners, we need to stop treating nature restoration as an act of goodwill, but the necessity that it is. So don't let anyone tell you that what we are demanding today is a kindness. Protecting the natural world isn't kind, but necessary for everyone's survival. Thank you.
OK, we're running a little bit short of time, so we're going to do brief introductions. Next up, I'm very pleased to say, from the RSPB, is Katie Jo Luxton to tell us about the People's Plan for Wildlife. That's us, the People's Plan for Nature.
Hi, folks. It's great to be here. I'm Katie Jo Luxton. I'm the Global Conservation Director for the RSPB.
People quite often ask me why I'm always so optimistic and so positive about the future in the face of all the wildlife declines that we see and the warming planet and the pressures we're putting on nature. And quite simply, it is because I work for an organisation and I work in a movement where every day I see action that brings me hope. Action on the ground where we're turning things around. We just need to scale it up and we need to go faster. My passion for nature started growing up on a family farm where there were so many lapwing that conservationists at the time didn't even count them. They called them an assemblage of common upland birds. Today, in Wales, in that part of the world where I'm from, there are probably 500 pairs of breeding lapwing in total. They are really rare. They are part of the 38 million birds we've lost from our skies during my lifetime. But on nature reserves, we are bucking that trend. Conservation scientists have done patient research. Wardens have worked really hard to get the exact recipe of habitat management for lapwing. And we are bringing them back. And the birds have returned. So much so, I would call some of our nature reserves lapwing factories. But it isn't going to be enough just to have lapwing on isolated nature reserves. We have to connect them up, and that's where we need politicians and government to act on the frameworks for nature, the financial and the policy frameworks that will enable farmers to get a pay rise if they work for nature and transition to nature and climate-friendly farming. The other thing that gives me hope every day is people. All of you people here today energise me and give us strength and passion to carry on this fight. And just over a year ago, RSPB, Wildlife Trust, WWF and the National Trust came together to bring an assembly of people, the first People's Assembly for Nature. We found 100 people from all over the UK, every country of the UK, all ages, different backgrounds, very diverse, different political persuasions. And they, over the course of 4 weekends, listened to the evidence from world-beating scientists, from farmers, from businessmen, from community leaders. They discussed, they debated, they really wrestled, but they found solutions. It is an incredibly powerful document they have produced. It is the first People's Plan for Nature for the UK. It is a manifesto for nature's revival in this country, and I hope our new government read it. It recommends a host of different things, fixing our broken food and farming system so that we are halting damage, helping farmers transition, and creating transparency in supply chains so us consumers can drive that change. There's lots on how to protect rivers, on how to clean up our seas, but also how to prioritise access to nature with all the benefits that connection to nature brings for our well-being. They call for us to reset our relationship with nature and its value in our lives and put the environment at the heart of decision-making. And it gives me hope that when you bring 100 people from all walks of life in the UK together, they can find solutions. And many of them, when they started this journey, knew very little about this cause we're here today for. Some of them started off saying they didn't care much about it. But I'm delighted that many of them are here today with us. They've changed their minds. They are passionate about the cause. They're continuing to fight with us. And the People's Plan for Nature is going to be the best read for all of our newly elected politicians. So that is why I have hope, because we know the solutions. We just have to get these guys to listen. When they start in post in July, we need to let them know they must restore nature now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie. So important that we're shouting louder than ever for our new government to really, really push that narrative forward. Now, next up, we have Days Agahi. Now, I fell in love with coming to protests like these back in 2018 when I joined Extinction Rebellion on the streets, and I met so many brilliant activists, and she is one of them. She's absolutely fantastic. Welcome, Days.
Thank you so much for adjusting the mic for mini-me. First of all, I would actually like for everyone to clap for themselves today, because thank you so much for showing up. Because this is what democracy looks like. This is what love looks like. I know that we're all here today because we've decided to come together to restore nature now. For me, it's pretty close to my heart because I grew up in London, but also I grew up in Lincolnshire. And it was at the beginning of my relationship with nature where I really recognised what the climate crisis was. It's because I fell in love with nature. I knew that when the climate is in crisis, I need to stand up. And that is what each and every one of you guys are doing today. So in this time, I asked you to think about what do we love about nature? And one of the things I love the most about nature is the fact that nature is not based on opposition. It's based on collaboration. And right now, we see ourselves in the width of a general election of where we don't see enough people talking about nature. We don't see enough people talking about the climate crisis. And we don't see enough people recognizing that this political system is simply not fit for the crisis that we're facing. This political system has not been fit for a lot of people for a long time. We have to recognize that in nature, I remember there was a beautiful fact around trees, how trees, they connected underneath the ground, and they use nutrients and send it over when it's needed. They act in community, and this is what we're asking. We're asking for Parliament to recognise the space of community. We're asking Parliament to become a community. This is why Extinction Rebellion, we talk about citizens' assemblies, where the average citizen gets a chance to be part of democracy. Imagine if just a few of us were there to help implement policy on not just our communities, but our nature. That would have a massive change on the impact of where the climate crisis is going. And we need to recognise that restoring nature is a large part of this. We know the way that biodiversity can affect our carbon mitigation. We know this already. And we know that with nature, we can birth new worlds. And this is why we need to recognise that we are part of an ecosystem. We aren't the stewards here. We aren't the people who are in charge. We need to fall back into being in love with the natural world and being part of this ecosystem. And we need to do our duty to reverse the harm that's already been caused. I'm a true lover that humanity is love, and this is us showing love, and democracy is love. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Days. Now, we're in the final run-in now, you'll be pleased to know, since the sun is shining. Some of you may be needing a drink or maybe needing to expel some liquid that you took on earlier. I think it's really important that we hear from the CEOs of our leading wildlife charities in the UK. Very sadly, two of them can't be with us today, but they have pre-recorded messages which we're going to play on our screens now. So please put your hands together, I know they won't hear you, for Becky Spate from the OSPB and Hilary McGrady from the National Trust.
Hi everyone. It's amazing to see so many people here today. This is such an important moment to have our voice heard in support of nature. We know that nature's in crisis and we know that we're one of the worst nature depleted countries in the world. So we need to do something about it. This matters on so many levels, whether it's our economy, whether it's the food that we produce, whether it's the difference that it makes to people. If you think about it, nature is at the very heart of what we consider to be important in Britain. Think about our literature where we talked about Ratty, the vole and Wind of the Willows. Think about the landscapes that we hold dear, whether that's a Lake District or the White Cliffs of Dover. This is our chance to make a difference, to make our voice heard, to make all politicians realise that nature needs supported. So have an amazing day and make your voice heard. Thank you.
At the RSPB, we believe quite simply in a world that is richer in nature. We want a world where people and the natural world are in harmony with each other. We believe every species has the right to exist. There's a moral impulse on us to pass on the natural world in a better state than we find it for future generations. At present, nature is in a bad state. We've lost 38 million birds from our skies, beautiful birds, in the last 50 years. And we also believe that nature underpins so much of what matters for us as a species. We are a part of nature. It underpins the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink, and it can be our best ally in dealing with climate change. So that's why we need politicians and governments who are prepared to step into this space and drive the really big systemic changes we need to see. We need scale and we need urgency right now. And we know what we have to do. So many of the solutions are there. We just need to apply them together, working together, and with governments and politicians. So please, let's all restore nature now.
Now, we're all here standing alongside so many different organisations. Looking out in the crowd, I can see Wildlife Trust, I can see Born Free. What else have we got? RSPB, Extinction Rebellion, Just Stop Oil. All of us here for that common focus, that commonality of a mission to restore nature now. Now, there's one organisation, an umbrella organisation, which looks after a lot of those different organisations. It's the Wildlife and Countryside Link, and the CEO, the founder, Richard Benwell, is the most fantastic speaker, I think one of the best that I've ever heard. He's a brilliant, brilliant man, very passionate about restoring nature now. So let's welcome Richard Benwell.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's wonderful to see you lovely nature lovers. Has everybody still got some energy? That's great news because I'm going to talk about politics. I'm going to talk about politics because every general election is a chance for change. It's a turning point. And whoever wins this time, it's our chance to check our collective compass and take the temperature of the nation. And you don't need me to tell you that the temperature is rising. It's rising literally, and it's rising because nature loss is making people's blood boil. Because time and again, we've come to these turning points and we've gone down the wrong path. Time after time, the politicians put short-term gain over the future of our natural world. They think nature's a nice to have, and they resort to drawing ever smaller rings around fading pockets of wildlife, while millions of people live greenless and grey lives. The implication? You don't need me to recite the list of doom, 1 in 6 species at risk of extinction, not a single water body in good condition, tens of thousands of lives cut short every year by pollution. But friends, even when the going gets tough, we are not powerless. We have the power of science on our side. So it's hats off to the ornithologists, the mycologists, the botanists, the chiropterologists who get out every day, whatever the weather. It's hats off to you guys, everyone who sat in the big garden birdwatch begging their blue tit to turn up, or who's got their feet wet going out testing their local river. And we have the power of campaigning on our side, from the ace advocates who defended the nature directives to the hundreds of thousands of you who helped us win the world's first legally binding target for nature. And we have the power of the law. Oceana, out there defending our seas. Wild Justice, fighting down unsustainable shoots. Sarah Finch, fighting for our climate. They're out there with the power of campaigning, of law, of science, and we've proven that we can win. But friends, it doesn't have to be like that. We don't have to drag the politicians kicking and screaming to every small victory. Sometimes, just sometimes in this place we see flashes of green brilliance. And let me let you into a secret. Some politicians really care about nature. Every now and then, this place has done something that is a moment of ecological inspiration that's helped change the world. This is the house that gave us the Climate Change Act and set a model of green governance. This is the house that gave us the Wildlife and Countryside Act, protected scores of species for their survival. This is the house that gave us the Clean Air Act, sweeping away the great smog. And this is the house that looked up from the horrors of the Second World War while the bombs were still falling, even while London was aflame, even while the world was in crisis. Visionary politicians in this place had the foresight to protect our national parks and create the national parks for the future. And folks, here we stand again in a moment of international crisis. Here we stand looking for leadership. And as the general election comes, let's not be fobbed off by little baubles for biodiversity. Let's not be quietened with quick wins. Let's not let the Environment Department be some backwater ministry grateful for every penny that the Treasury finds when it's feeling flush. No, this time we need greater action to turn around the decline of nature. And friends, a final thought. Let's not let the politicians do it without help. We're here to help you, politicians. Let's speak with one voice and let's ask for the big things. When the general election comes, let's not be fobbed up with a pittance of pennies for biodiversity. Let's make sure that we're redoubling our spending for wildlife-friendly farming, fisheries and forestry. Let's not let the big polluters continue to free ride and get away with taking more from our environment that they give. Let's make the polluters pay. Let's make sure that when the election comes, we make room for nature on land and at sea, that instead of creating those ever-diminishing circles in a helter-skelter of neglect, we protect thousands more green spaces and a public nature estate where wildlife can thrive. And finally, let's not stand for any more of this environmental inequality that divides us, rich and poor, where the poorest, most vulnerable people die early from filthy air or a concrete jungle. No, friends. This is time for change. So when the general election comes, let's make sure that this time we don't go down the wrong path. Let's make sure that we're there standing, pointing the way and turn to a better future for nature. Let's make sure that we show them the way to restore nature now.
When you're stood at that ballot box coming up soon, I hope you have a bit of energy from Richard in your head when you're thinking about who to vote for. He's so passionate and speaks so clearly about politics, and I actually find it quite interesting to, listening to Richard talk about all of that. Now, next up, very last but very definitely not least, we are coming up, rounding to an end. We've got Craig Bennett, who's the CEO of the Wildlife Trust. He's a fantastic advocate, of course, using his voice for nature, but also guiding the Wildlife Trust through this really important transition. Craig.
Thank you, Megan. Hello, everyone. Have you been having a good time? Doesn't it feel good when you're particularly anxious about something, when you're angry about something, when you're angry and anxious about the failure from our politicians to address the climate and nature crisis? Doesn't it feel good to come together with friends that feel the same way and want to do something about it? And isn't it amazing when I tell you that the official estimate is now in and over 60,000 of us have come together today in London to restore nature now? The fact is
The British public get it. Just over 3 weeks ago, the Wildlife Trust commissioned a poll from Savanta which said that 79% of the British public get that nature is critical for the economy and our well-being. The British public are way ahead of politicians on this issue. Too often when politicians talk about the economy, they talk about it as something that's completely separate from this beautiful planet on which we live. And yet we know, friends, that the economy is actually a wholly owned subsidiary of nature, even though most of the time our politicians act as if nature is a wholly owned subsidiary of the economy. And too often when politicians talk about health and public health, they talk about it as if we're humans, like our amoebas in a little petri dish. Not about the fact that nature and access to nature and the quality of the environment we grow up and live in is actually one of the key determinants of public health. And too often when politicians talk about education, they talk about it as if all that matters is generating the next generation of worker ants to add a few percentage points to GDP, rather than actually trying to make sure we bring up wholly rounded, confident, happy individuals that feel part of and connected to nature. So at times it feels we have to spell it out. So let's spell it out very clearly. No nature, no food. No nature, no water. No nature, no prosperity. No nature, no health. No nature, no justice. No nature, no peace. No nature, no joy. No nature, no home. No nature, no life. But you know what's even more frustrating? We actually know how to turn this around. We know how to tackle the climate crisis, and we know how to restore nature now. Very simply, we have to make more space for nature. We've agreed globally to get at least 30% of our land, inland waters and sea in recovery for nature by 2030. England is currently at 3%. That's a lot to do in the next 5 to 6 years. But we have to make more space for nature and make sure that space is joined up. We have to restore the abundance of nature. For example, by cutting the huge overuse of pesticides and making sure that we can see nature in abundance again. And we also have to get nature working again. Novel concepts like making sure our wetlands are wet, the restoring our peat bogs, and reintroducing missing species like beavers and the missing lynx. And we have to connect people and nature again. But let's be clear, we don't have to just restore nature. We need to do it now, and we have to do it urgently. You know, so many of those targets, those legally binding targets, international targets about tackling the climate crisis and restoring nature, are set on what needs to happen by 2030. And I often find myself thinking, you know, if this country was hosting something like the Olympics in 2030, you would have cross-party support to build a special delivery body to make sure that we build the infrastructure and the venues on time. And we would not tolerate any delay in that. We would not tolerate a delay in the venues. We'd have very clear project plans and Gantt charts about how to do it. And if anything was off track, then politicians across the spectrum would lean in and say, something has to be done. This is our national pride at stake. We now need exactly the same approach to restore nature by 2030. You know, the real test for the next government is not just that they do a little bit better than the governments that came before them. And you fear that's what might be said. The real test of the next government, which will be in place for almost the entirety up to 2030, the real test of the next government and the whole of the next parliament across the aisle will be to make sure that we do what's necessary to tackle the climate and nature crisis. We can do this. We must do this. Britain is a nation of nature lovers. Over the next 5 to 6 years, we have to make Britain proud, that we can turn this old country into a new world full of nature and people connected to nature. Thank you very much.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much, Craig. I always like it when I'm listening to the Today programme in the morning and I hear that Craig's coming on. He speaks with great clarity and important vision. OK, yeah, let's hear it again for Craig. That was... OK, we've had a request. It's not a birthday, you'll be glad to know. We would like all of you to ask your potential elected representatives in the forthcoming election to make sure that they're signed up to the Climate and Nature Bill. If you've not heard of it, check it out. Get on the email, get on the social media, tie something to a pigeon, and make sure that they think about that. It's time for thanks, because we're almost at the end of our time. First of all, I would like to thank Richard Benwell, who you've seen speaking this afternoon, from Wildlife Countryside Link, who've worked incredibly hard to bring all of you together today. Along with him, Emma Adler, Nick Hawkes, also from Wildlife Countryside Link. Now, that was a lukewarm round of applause. I'm sorry, but thank you, thank you.
Veronica Pestra, Liz Pendleton, Miranda Irwin from Extinction Rebellion, and Kim Way as well for some delightful music that we've had.
Stephen Roddy and Luke Phillips from the RSPB, come on!
Emma Callicott from WWF.
Alex Burrows and his team, the events manager this afternoon. Let's hear it for them.
And we have the Art Factory, who have created some beautiful banners, posters, all of the illustrations that you see around you. Huge congratulations to the Art Factory. Dressed as a mushroom.
Magnificent. I can't identify the species at this range, but nevertheless it's superb. OK, next up, all of the stewards and all of the police that work so hard to make us safe this afternoon.
And very definitely last but not least, Emma Smart and Fabian Harrison, who this would not be possible without. They have been instrumental in organising all of this, organising all of the organisations that are here. Without them, Fabian is tucked away at the minute in a van, producing the live stream, doing all the technical side of it. Emma Smart is keeping us on time over this side of the stage. A huge round of applause for Emma and Fabian.
OK, we're just going to have one more little break. So can I ask you, if you feel it necessary, to close your eyes and immerse yourself in this little bit of joyous nature? Now is the summer of our discontent, because we have a nightmare. Since Frankie Goes to Hollywood told us to relax, 600 million birds across Europe have vanished, including 65% of our cuckoos and 90% of our nightingales. We have a nightmare. Since the Sex Pistols pointed out it was anarchy in the UK, 80% of our butterflies have gone. 19% of our wildlife has been destroyed, and 1 in 6 species are now in danger of extinction. We have a nightmare. Our rivers may be full of sewage, but agriculture is the #1 source of river pollution in the UK and also responsible for 35% of our greenhouse gas emissions. And the state of nature reports are unambiguous. It's principally farming policies and practices that are driving declines in insects and birds. We have a nightmare. Over 1 billion animals are confined in factory farms in the UK, and the number of intensive factory farms is on the rise. Since 2016, there's been a 20% increase of industrial pig and poultry units. Factory farming is the single biggest cause of animal cruelty on the planet. We have a nightmare. Foxes are still ripped to pieces for fun by entitled savages, and at the cost of £60 million of our money, we've exterminated 230,000 badgers in an inhumane, unethical and wholly ineffective cull. That's half the UK badger population. It's tragic. We have a nightmare. It's estimated that 1.7 million animals are trapped in snares every year in the UK. Almost a third of satellite-tracked golden eagles have died in suspicious circumstances, and woodcock, snipe, golden plover and pochard are still legally shot despite being in serious decline. It's madness. We have a nightmare. 92% of our marine protected areas are not protected from destructive fishing. And last year, these so-called marine nature reserves were subjected to 100,000 hours of industrial fishing and 33,000 hours of bottom trawling. They are not protected. They are being trashed. We really have a nightmare. 2023 was confirmed as the warmest year going back to 1850. And this May marked the 12th month of record-breaking heat in a row. And yet, whilst the world has been roasting, they have handed major oil companies 53 new drilling licenses, including Rosebank, the biggest undeveloped oil and gas field in the North Sea. But it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Because we can restore nature now. And we will restore nature now. We have the tools, we have the technologies, we've tried and tested the solutions, and they work. So let's make them work. I've got to tell you, it's too late for dreaming. We've been dreaming, and it hasn't worked. It's time to wake up and start acting, doing things that really make a difference. Because there is no longer a choice. The simple truth is, this is our last stand for nature. Now is the time to stand up and start fighting for all of the life that we love so much. That's not just me and us and them. It's every one of you. Because you can make the difference. You must make the difference. You will make the difference. Now is the time to finally find the courage for the biggest battles, not the easy wins. Another dormouse reintroduction won't save biodiversity, but radically reformed, sustainable farming, fishing and forestry policies will. So let's bang on that door until we get them. Now is the time to make a livable earth a reality for all of our children and everything that creeps, crawls, slithers, slimes and stings. Now is the time to love life. To love life harder, madder and faster. To love life with every last beat of our beautiful hearts. Nature can't act, but we can. Nature doesn't have a voice, but we do. So let me hear it. Restore nature now. 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 Just a bit louder. Some of them are a little bit deaf. Restore nature now. Restore nature now. Restore nature now. Restore nature now. 80 to 100,000 people are saying, restore nature now. Restore nature now. You're loud, you're proud, you're beautiful. Thank you very much indeed for coming. Please come back next time. I fear this isn't the first event that we're going to need to run like this. Thank you very much indeed.